Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day, wherever you are in the world. I'm so excited to be talking to someone I have come to know only in the last some months. But this is a person who believes asking the right questions at the right time allows magic to happen in a human world. And I think that's quite a profound thinking. So, on that note, and without further ado, let me kick off this interview with none other than Frank Kaiser. Frank, welcome. Tell us something about yourself and tell us a little bit or a lot about what this means. What is this magic you're talking about?
Thank you, Pallavi, and welcome everyone to this interview. I'm very honored to do this interview as a special treat for our Toastmasters community. And I have learned in my life so far that if you want to achieve something and you want to get something, information, something to happen, you need to ask the question. And not only the right question, you need to look into how you are asking that question. You can ask a question in different ways with a kind of commanding voice that might bring you not to where you want to do. I learned, and especially for this particular question I asked for this conference, to make one of our speakers to join our conference, I really tried to find the most empathic Frank you can imagine and then ask them that question. So that's basically how I approached our speaker on this one.
Right.
It's the way how you ask, not necessarily what you ask, but it's the way how you ask. This is how I see it.
Right. Very well said, Frank. Very well said. And I want you to walk us through a little bit on how did this thought originate of getting the speaker? And more importantly, what was your journey when the speaker said, I can't join in? And you decided first to empathically ask the speaker and then to actually say, the speaker hasn't joined, so what is it that I can do? Walk us through that. Take us into your mind.
All right. So I was as well rechecking all the messages I had with, by the way, people should know by now whom we are talking about, right? It's none other than I will reveal the truth right now, but it's our speaker, Sarah Khan. So that's something where we thought, okay, as you know, Pallavi, we were looking into who we want to have as a speaker or workshop facilitator for this conference.
Right.
Keeping aside the application for the workshops as such, but we want to have as well some high-profile speaker. And all the organization team had to look out, spread their wings, spread their antenna, whom we can talk to. And I just thought, okay, I have seen so many interesting posts from Sarah on Facebook, and why not just send her a message via Facebook Messenger? I put a message together, said, can I ask Sarah this question? And I simply went there and asked her on the 19th of January this year.
Wow.
So just 4 months ago, Sarah, this is me. I'm a member of the organization team. We have this conference. I'm the division lead director of District 109. We would be honored if you can be one of our speakers. And I didn't get a no. So I obviously opened some magic box, if you want to say so. And then she was asking a lot of questions. Okay, which district? Which country are you in? How many workshops you have? So basically all the questions you will get asked by someone who you're asking for, can you imagine to be a speaker for a conference? Yeah, and then with all the clarification, when we also made the connection with our workshop facilitator, Paraskeli, who's doing an amazing job, by the way, finding all the people and organizing all the speakers and stuff. Yeah, and since then, it was a connection between me and Sarah and Paraskeli, because Sarah had some questions, had some timing issues. She's doing a lot of things right now for different conferences. So this interview even, we were thinking of having an interview with her, but due to the time constraints she has, we thought, okay, you know what, we tell a little bit about how did we get Sarah into our conference. And I was simply connected with her on Facebook. And since then, it just started to fly. You just need to ask the question, need to be connected, you need to show empathy to that person, and then it's quite easy. Also very easy going.
Yeah. You do make it sound easy, Frank, I have to admit, but I also must believe that it probably doesn't come that easily for everybody. So you mentioned two things that caught my attention. The first thing you said was your antennas. The other thing you said was spread your wings. So if someone has difficulty in just reaching out to someone, asking for help, how would you guide them, or what would be your advice to them on how they can up their antenna and spread their wings? How does that work?
I think that is something what you cannot learn by not doing it. Everything what we learn, what we get to know, yeah, you know where I'm leading to, you simply need to start to ask. And one point in time, you get there. It's for me personally, I didn't went to any specific training how to ask the right question at the right time. I just did it. And I think that is the key message here. So if you don't try and if you don't ask, you don't get an answer. And even if you don't get the answer which you have maybe expected, but even that answer can help you to think of, okay, what can I do better next time? Which question should I ask next time? What is the way how I've asked the question? So that's as well something what you can learn. You simply need to go out and ask. Ask and you will get an answer.
Yes, ask and you will get an answer. Very, very wise words, Frank, because a lot of people, first of all, may not dare to go and ask. And when people do ask, they can get disappointed that, oh, what was the point? Because they didn't answer. But I think you really hit the nail on its head. That just go out and doing it. You can't learn about it without not doing it. Great stuff. Great stuff. So tell us a little bit about your Toastmasters journey. Tell us if you have to put three of your biggest learnings for anyone aspiring to get to a level where you're at and expand their way of thinking. What are your learnings inside Toastmasters and maybe even outside in life? What would be your top 2 or 3 learnings, Frank?
Okay, thanks, Pallavi, for the question. Let me start with the basics. So I started Toastmasters in June 2017 at the corporate club. And for me, the biggest eye-opening event was when I attended the Rebirth in Essence conference in 2018, because that was for me even the first district conference, up to 1,000 people, if I remember correctly. And I was really positively surprised that such kind of conference is really networking at its best. I've attended a lot of conferences from a business point and professional point of view, but there usually it's like, okay, what is your kind of business? Here's my business ID, here's my business card. And then this is more or less the connection you have. But with Toastmasters itself, since then, I have extended my network to, I don't know how many, but it's not like just counting the people to whom I'm connected to.
Right.
I consider myself to be a very open person. And that is what I learned. One thing from Toastmasters, the network possibilities you have there, they are very great, but you need to basically stay connected to the people and exchange. It's not just counting numbers. I have 1,000 people in my network. That doesn't help at all. You need to stay connected to the people. Second thing is what I used to say is for me, Toastmasters is a positive box of Pandora. So you open it and you have a huge learning opportunities at your fingertips, but you need to choose what you want to learn, because otherwise it might be too much and then you are basically your head is exploding. You're thinking too many directions.
Right.
With respect to professional life, I think that when I have joined Toastmasters back then helped me as well a lot to express myself, to be more open to people. I used to be open to people already in the past, but I think personally I can express myself no better since I have joined Toastmasters. So these are the 3 main points. Networking is a big thing, learning opportunities, and how to express yourself in a better way.
Right, right. Very, very interesting, Frank. I like the way how you compartmentalized it in your professional life, your personal expression, and then the whole learning opportunity that came with your journey. I want to deep dive a little bit on the first point you said about networking. So I fully understand that this is a lot more than just exchanging business cards, but a lot of people who are busy also believe that a lot of this takes time away from, I guess, your life and the day-to-day jobs. And I also fully understand there's probably not a perfect balance ever. In you can't just give someone a formula and say, well, here you go. What's been your experience, and hopefully our listeners can take some inspiration when it comes to balancing how you balance this learning, which goes beyond card exchange, because it does take a bit more time from your daily life, doesn't it, Frank?
Yes, it does absolutely, and that's why I should not say that because we're here in a Toastmasters community and we are inspiring each other, hopefully. Now, that's why I personally decided to step back next year a little bit. I still will have some duties. For example, I'm now a executive committee member in a club in Greece, but for me, this networking activities, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality.
Right.
But what I said, it's not about how many people you have in your network. You simply need to stay to those people. And you don't need to do this on a daily basis. If you do this once in a while, or once in a week, or once per month, that's okay. But the quality behind that connection, that is important.
Right.
But I can speak in the evening for 2-3 hours with people from around the world if I want to. But no, why should I? Because then it becomes, for me at least, too regular, too much, and then it's going into more like a general chit chat with no quality, which I don't want. And beside that, I have a beautiful wife at home, and she needs to have some attention as well. even more than Toastmasters, just that you know.
Yeah, and life is about balance, isn't it? It is about quality. Exactly. It is about balance. You're absolutely right. I think we are so resonating on so many levels, Frank. So if you had to, given you are so good at crisply giving your answers and putting them into various buckets, if you had to share with our audience or anyone aspiring to go on a similar journey, how do you think, or what do you think are your 3 tricks if someone suddenly caught on the spot and they have to respond to something, or if they are asked a difficult question? Are there any tricks you think that a joker in the back pocket you take out and say, well, okay, you could always try this and this if you're in a spot?
So what I have learned basically from this kind of things, if someone is asking, maybe I'm going a little bit into the topic discussion here. So if someone is really asking you a difficult and tricky question, what works best for me, and I hope it might work for others as well, is that feel free to say that you did not understand the question. That's perfectly valid. I experienced in my life, and especially in the professional life, that if you pretend to have understood the question and then you try to play and trick around to find an answer which is just satisfying the one who is asked the question, no, sooner or later, that person will clearly understand, figure out that you were cheating. Don't do that. Be honest to yourself and have the freedom and have all the right in the world to ask and say, I did not understand the question, or it's too difficult for me. I don't know about this one. That's perfectly fine. Absolutely okay.
Frank,
if you know the answer because you're an expert in that field and you know it by heart, then of course shout it out. Feel free to answer to that question. Yeah. But just don't pretend to be someone you are not. So that's one key learning I have.
Yeah. Frank, I was taking in what you were saying because I think this is such a dominant problem or a challenge most people face, that we don't want to come across as vulnerable. We don't want to come across as someone who doesn't know. We always want to come across as someone who knows the answers, who has the answers. And I think what you say is quite invaluable, that it is honestly just standing up and saying, well, I don't really have an answer, I don't understand. So that's a very, very valuable nugget. And I think it is quite inspirational. And for people who know it, it's also a good reminder. So it's a good reminder for me. I've made a mental note that I don't need to have all the answers. Great stuff, Frank. So just coming back to now the conference and the idea of having asked Sarah Khan for the interview and then replacing that idea because her schedule did not match with you stepping in to share your philosophy. What triggered you to replace that with this sort of a session, that where you said, okay, you still want to bring forward your thoughts, but we're now replacing one for the other, because these decisions again are not very easy for a lot of people to just come up with something else which is equally good and interesting. What are you talking to yourself at that time, Frank?
Okay, Pallavi, thanks for that question. I not the one who will judge if this is equally good at the other interviews we had here, but why I came up with that idea is this one. I was also in connection with Paola and Anastasia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shouldn't we have an interview like we had for all the other speakers as well with Sarah Khan? Because I think she has deserved it, and she still deserves that, right? So, but due to organizational reason from her and to the very strict time slots we have at the conference, that okay, but we need to do something for her. And my thinking was, okay, first of all, I reached out again to her, Sarah, would you be like to be interviewed? And then she said, Frank, there's Ramadan ending, the celebration of Eid is coming, I have relatives at home, my home is full, I have to prepare for some other districts. So long story short, I cannot do that. And I said, okay. I went back to Paola and said, okay, what else we can do? Then I was thinking, okay, why not have an interview, exactly this one we are doing right now, to share with our audience what brought me to this idea to ask her at least to give a little bit of an indirect platform for Sarah as well. And I really want to use the opportunity to share with the audience and share with the world that Sarah is a down-to-earth person. Even she's a very high-profile lady in Toastmasters and around the world, and a peacemonger as well, which I think is very, very useful and necessary. Not useful, only necessary. Actually, necessary these days.
Yeah.
She is a down-to-earth person, and if you approach her in a right way, in an empathic way, and she was just there like I was speaking with her already for 3 to 4 years. So, and I think she deserved that, and that's why I came up with this kind of talking about a little bit about Sarah interview here. That's the idea.
Yeah, very selfless, Frank. Thank you for that answer, and thank you for that little window inside your mind on how you think, because it's a very selfless act to actually say, well, okay, so the person can't make it, but how do we still maximize an opportunity and still give them the due airtime? So a lot of inspiration personally for me, but also I believe for anyone who comes back to listen to this conversation we are having, to take some nuggets of wisdom away. Okay, so on to one thing that I think we've asked, it's probably customary, we've asked all our speakers, Frank. So tell us something that no one knows about.
No one knows about me?
Yes. And we have enough time, Frank.
Okay, that goes that goes a little bit back to, you might not believe me, but I have to share that. So when I had my first, is it really a secret? Okay, but anyway, I will share with you. So the first time when I was doing a speech in the front of an audience from around 100 people, that was way before Toastmasters. It was related to my professional life back then. And I had to give a presentation. I only had 3 hours of time to prepare for the presentation on the train because the original speaker got sick. I got a call from my boss, 6 o'clock in the morning. Frank, you know the topic. You need to travel to that place 3 hours, and this is the presentation. And I had only 3 hours of time to prepare. I went there. I saw some familiar faces in the audience, so that was good. And there was a wooden non-transparent lecture. So what happened is I knew my stuff. I was talking, but at one point in time, my left leg was really like starting to shake. What is it? What is this? What is this? So I was really then holding the lecture and pressing myself, and okay, I finished the presentation, but what is this? And when I joined Toastmasters 8 years later in June 2017 and had my first speech, where I thought, okay, I've done my presentations, I've spoken in front of people, and then we were somewhat around 25 people in the room, And if you know in your room where you have people closer to you because you're not standing 10 meters away on a stage, and then you have the audience.
Right. I'm sorry, Frank. That was me.
All good. Supporting interviewer, maybe, we don't know. So, so what happened then was that I faced exactly the same situation, that my left leg started to shake again. And I was really thinking, okay, Frank, no, this was happening 8 years ago. Why is it happening now again? But that was really linked to the energy you get from the audience, a completely new situation for me. And since then, lucky me, it did not start again, but it might happen again. So that secret is a little bit of, I might come across like someone who is familiar with speaking in front of people and being an open person. But my learning from that one and my message to the audience out there is, things can happen to you at any time, at any speech, at any conference, at any situation. So just be aware of that. And if you know that already, then you are also able to handle that. So that's a little bit of secret of myself.
Yeah.
And much more to share during the conference.
Thank you so much, Frank, for sharing such a personal fact about you, and also the fact that it wasn't just a one-time event, but it happened again. And I think what you mentioned is also resilience, because it could happen at any point. You could have done 20 speeches and then you could still have it. So again, a very, very important nugget of wisdom to keep in mind. So we're coming up to almost the last few minutes of our really lovely conversation. Time's flown. I think I could have just carried on talking so much more. What do you do for fun, Frank? What's fun for Frank?
For fun, I'm doing something, and that something is in the other second room behind me. So this is my ukulele. I'm playing ukulele since 2017. And why I'm doing this, my wife Cordula told me back then, Frank, you need to have something to do with respect to work-life balance, because you're working too much. You have a laptop at home, you go late to bed. And she brought me to Basel, which is 1 hour away from my place where we live. She brought me to the House of Guitars. I said, whoa, what is that? So we entered that, and she told me, Frank, you select a ukulele for you. Why? I want you to learn that instrument. Okay. And why not the guitar? And then I thought by myself, oh, this is a question you know by yourself the answer, Frank. I have very short fingers. You see this one? Very short fingers, inherited from my grandmother and my mother, from my mother and my grandmother. So you can imagine if I would play a 6-string instrument like a guitar, maybe my fingers are too short and I cannot play it fully as I want to. So ukulele, 4-string instrument, fits way better to me. In the meantime, I have 2, and I'm continuously playing and having this for fun, sitting back, relax, just play along, and can get lost sometimes. So yeah, I'm doing this for fun most of the time, just playing music. Anyway, music is very big part of my life as well. So.
Beautiful, Frank. Beautiful. Well, thank you very much for walking us into your life, walking us into your mind, and broadly walking us into the philosophy of your life. Because I truly believe that in interviewing anyone or talking to anyone, it's not just theories. We need to bring stories. And that's exactly what you brought to me today. And I believe what you brought to our audience, who probably are listening now or may come back to listen to this. And I want to really kind of say, maybe the middle name should be Frank Inspirational Kaiser, because that's really my takeaway from 30 minutes of a very, very honest and touching conversation with you. On that note,
thank you all for you to have found time for this one. You know, both of us, we are part of the organization committee. We have a hell of things to do, as you know, but I think our community has deserved to get a little bit to know what it means to get a speaker on board, and as well to share a little bit of the down-to-earth person Sarah is. So I think she has deserved that as well.
And I think it was a great, I didn't want to give up the opportunity, so I jumped on it because I was like, that's my best chance to get to know Frank. And you allowed me to grill you. So here I was with all my questions. Thank you very much, Frank, for a lovely, lovely conversation. A half an hour I will not forget ever. And that's up to the time we had today. So thank you everyone who's there for listening. And if not, come back and listen to this lovely soul-touching conversation. Frank Kaiser, Frank Inspirational Kaiser, have a good day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.